Hello and welcome back to Centralink_stories. Before I get into today's story, there is still a little bit of house cleaning that I need to address. I'm still figuring out the format for these videos, so bear with me while that's happening. I am also working on setting up an account to make them into a podcast to reach a much wider audience. I'm just looking for hosts. With that out of the way, let's get into a story from someone whom asked to remain anonymous. I applied for jobseeker in November. 3 weeks later I missed a call on a random Thursday afternoon. Shortly after missing that call, I received a text message saying I was going to receive a call later that day and I must answer it. Then shortly after that message, another text message saying my claim had been rejected. A couple of my recontact attempts later and I was able to clarify which document they were now requesting. I submitted it and I was told that all looks good and my claim was being considered again. But I have received no word since then. It's January and I'm still waiting for a decision with my food supplies running out. I'm going to have to attempt to contact them again, to simply clarify if my claim is actively under consideration, and ask if I should perhaps submit a signed document to initiate a formal review process. I am working as well and have been looking for new opportunities for work. But my income from work has been too low to sustain my basic needs. Ever since the border reopening started spreading COVID wildly here and slowing everything down, I dropped my food budget down to $11 a day and that works well for me. I sold some personal possessions over Christmas to pay for food and rent. I'm in the black until next week or so and considering what else I can sell to pay for food and rent during the jobseeker claim process. Anyone wanna buy an old iPad? First generation, as demonstrated on stage by Steve Jobs. A collector's piece. This process of claiming jobseeker is very frustrating. It's no wonder the phone lines are always overloaded with high call volumes and procedural confusions. It's a badly designed system that functions as a source of debilitating hardship to those in need. This is Centralink_stories coming in with my opinion. This sounds like a pretty typical experience with how it is with trying to get any kind of information or action from Centralink in any capacity. It doesn't matter if it's just calling to ask them a simple question about which documents they require for your appointment or trying to tell them you're going to be late or what have you. On the flip side, if Centralink wants something from you, then you need to have your phone grafted to the side of your head or your hand, because if you miss their call even once, this can and does happen, as we've just heard. I'm not blaming the Centralink frontline workers for that by any means. They're just the ones stuck on the phones and they have a call list longer than an Amazon scam call center, because Centralink essentially runs on a skeleton crew due to the staff being gutted and replaced with the self-service quote-unquote option, and because a lot of them cop so much abuse that they can't handle it anymore and have to leave. Unfortunately, what that means for the quote-unquote customer is that if your phone is flat, or in another room, or you're driving or your hands are full with something else, you'd better stop whatever you're doing and make yourself available or your claim is going to get rejected. They say that they give you 2 to 3 chances to pick up, but sometimes the staff that are calling are under so much pressure that they only let the phone ring a few times and then move on to the next person and mark the person they called as unanswered. Coming back to what this person has said about not hearing anything about their application for roughly 2 months after calling them back and resubmitting the forms, that is not unusual, because I was recently told by Centralink that my issue similar to this, which is what started this whole endeavor, could take 13 weeks for my appeal to even be looked at. I repeat, 13 weeks to even be looked at. And if the repeal was rejected, then I'd have to reapply, which could take another 13 weeks for them just to look at it. Let that sink in for a moment. If you miss one phone call, that could leave you with nothing for up to 6 months. The homeless population surge over the last few years is starting to make more sense now, right? It's completely ridiculous that the poster has had to sell off their possessions just to stave off homelessness, and being forced to live on $11 a day food-wise is also inexcusable. I know someone is going to say $11 a day isn't so bad. I could do that easily. The next time you're in a supermarket, look at the prices of everything and calculate how much $11 of food is, If that's too hard for you, take $77 into the local supermarket and buy as much as you can and put it aside and live off of that food and nothing else for a week, then come back to me and tell me it's easy. Even after selling their possessions, that's only going to save the poster until the end of the week, and then they're back at square one. So, what are they going to do after that? Take a moment to just think of how you'd be feeling in this situation. As mentioned before, Centrelink is running on a skeleton crew, and I've been told by more than a few that they're often inexperienced contractors. They're trying their best, but most of the senior staff have moved on or been pushed out because they either didn't like where things were going or tried to resist the changes. I don't blame the public-facing staff at Centrelink in the slightest. They're amazing people and doing their best. We owe it to them and ourselves to get our stories out there so that this fundamentally broken system can be seen for what it is and fixed.